And thank you guys for waiting. We are going to be talking about some stuff that is really near and dear to me. It's counter-programming, or growing your game audience on Twitch with different but familiar content. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, where I come from, the way you stand out is by being different. So I hope that some of you guys, although you might not be content creators, you might be game developers. Well, how do you stand out? Do you stand out by doing the same damn thing? No, you stand out by being different. And I'm going to show you some examples of my past and some of the stuff I've been doing with Twitch on how, well, my stuff kind of got really popular and exploded, but I did work with other people too. So if you don't know, this is Twitch. Twitch is now one of the largest video streaming platforms in the world. But for a while, before Twitch got really popular and exploded into popularity, it was an unknown. But now, I guess, when talking in front of all of you amazing people, you guys probably have a really good idea of what Twitch is. It's where you watch other people play video games, but more so than just that, it's a place that has its own communities with game developers, with streamers who are very popular, like Man vs. Game. We have media on us, like IGN and Destructoid and others. But for some of you people who don't know, Twitch is constantly growing. So, believe it or not, we finally have wrestling, which is a really big thing to me, being that I used to be a failed pro wrestler. So, really excited about that. And so, okay. Who am I? I'm Jon Carnage. It's nice to see you guys. Thank you for coming out here. We're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff. So this is a little bit different than what I usually talk about Twitch, because I'm talking about counter-programming. So before I got into Twitch, before I got into Destructoid, I used to work for Fox News, and I used to work for CBS News. Little did I know that working at those things were going to teach me everything that I know today, because it taught me everything not to do. See, not Destructoid, that's a little different. Working for Fox News and working for CBS News, I learned right away that that stuff was really boring. I learned right away that, man, everybody kept doing the same thing. And then why were certain shows like Big Bang Theory and other content on CBS exploding in popularity? Well, because it was super different and it had similarities to content that people were familiar with. So, going forward, I started thinking, what am I going to do to stand out on the internet? Where can I go? Destructoid, I met Nero, who was the CEO of the company. I met him at a video game convention. I lied to get into the convention. I said that I was an actual journalist. I was never a journalist. I was a video editor. I was a news coordinator. All that meant is I got people in order to play the news. So I get into the convention, and I meet Nero, and I tell him I'm this like journalist from Afghanistan, and I told him all this crazy stuff, anything to get my foot in the door. So Nero says, what do you want to do for us? I said, I'd like to make content that no one else is doing, but similar at the same time. And so this is a little bit of that stuff. It was called PAD, Public Access Destructoid. Public Access Destructoid, the reason we called it that was because we had no money. Literally, we had no money. We used the camera that I bought at the Salvation Army. It was a very, very poorly put together product, but we didn't hide that. We kept that real. So I'm going to show you a little video of this. Let's just see if that works. Nope, that went all over the place. Let's just go back. Okay. Come on, help me out. There it is. Perfect. Perfect. So, a lot of that stuff Well, the reason we did it that way is because we really wanted to stand out in the ecosystem of YouTube, right? And believe it or not, learning what I learned on how to make content that was like that is what led me to want to start creating live content, because it actually came from the live space of news. So what you guys saw there's a lot of celebrities, probably that you guys probably didn't recognize, but there's a lot of famous pro wrestlers. Ron Jeremy's in one of those videos. I used my life savings to make this stuff. We had no money, and it was super different, but yet at the same time, people who came across it were like, oh, it's kind of familiar. And that's where I'm trying to take this whole conversation, that the content that you want to start making is familiar, but not too different. The thing with the Ouija board and the blood and stuff, yeah, that's pretty different. Sorry about that. So, started doing that. Little did I know that those videos that I had created started getting really popular on YouTube, but it took a while. Sometimes you make content that's too progressive, even if it looked like how it looked, what I showed you guys as. It takes a while for momentum to build up because people start talking about it because it sticks out in people's minds and like, oh, that's different. So that led to me starting to do live streaming on Destructoid, which at the time was Justin TV. This is an old picture. This community that we created and cultivated was a pretty weird group of people who all like the same type of stuff, but that also took a while too. We tried to create a community that was super different. So the Detroit channel on Twitch, how do we go from a 0 to 100 real quick? Well, we created original content that was different but familiar. We did everything but esports. See, what I noticed when I was streaming on Justin TV is that everybody was hyper focused on wanting to make the next esports thing, which was, at the time, StarCraft 2 and Street Fighter 4. That's all everybody played. So when I noticed that everybody was playing that stuff, I said, we'll play anything but that. And one of the major things that we played all the time was Hello Kitty MMO. And that really got popular because it was a horrible game. It was an actual really bad game. But for whatever reason, people like to watch me play terrible games. So we engage with the community hardcore. What I noticed on other channels was that no one talked to the chat. Like, still to this day, people really don't talk to the chat as hardcore as we did. Literally every line, even if there were 6,000 people, I tried my best to read it out loud and say their comment and then talk to them. As you know, some channels have like 30,000 viewers. That's really hard to do, but talking to that chat really made us stand out. Again, different but familiar. And you guys can really take some of these philosophies by watching other people's games or other people's channels on Twitch and noticing that, wow, this isn't what they're doing over here. If I do this, maybe people will watch. Well, it actually worked out for me because people started watching. A lot of people started watching. And the last thing is we created a feverish community that just wanted something different based off the concepts that I've been laying into place, talking to the chat, playing anything but esports, being bad at video games. I'm really not good at this stuff. And high energy. So expecting the unexpected was to be expected. So that led to me starting to make some crazy stuff on on Twitch. This was a long time ago, by the way, so I'm going to show you some rare stuff. Yeah, I blew that up. That was a party cannon in my one-room house. So it destroyed my entire apartment. And I couldn't afford food back then. So the one time I bought food, it got wrecked by the party cannon. We started making a meme out of that. It was called the Glitter Witch. Here you go, expecting the unexpected. This was a Muscle Man show. We were doing a competition to see who has the biggest muscles, so I decided to get in my underwear. Yeah, there you go. That was actually just in front of like 100 people because I had promised that I was going to do a Muscle Man show, and that turned out to be one of the more popular clips, and people wanted more of that stuff. Again, doing stuff that's different made us stand out. Everybody else constantly kept doing the same thing. They constantly played Street Fighter 4, wanting to be the best in the world. Where's Street Fighter 4 right now? It's Street Fighter 5 now. So we were anything but your average channel. And that's what I really want to try to put into your guys' minds, is that standing out, being different is really what's going to make you move forward, because that's what moved forward for me. Now, Twitch. What have I done with Twitch? So Twitch is an amazing company. They've actually let me run with some of these concepts that I helped create several years ago and create a new type of show, but familiar at the same time. It was called the Pre-Pre Show, and these are the numbers, right? So there was almost 36 million minutes watched. The average concurrent was 53,000. Max concurrent almost hit 300,000 people. 300,000 concurrent for a show that I barely got budget to make happen. How do we make this work? Well, I'll show you. So we started making the show, and I was like, okay, what do we want to do to make this show a success? So we were the opposite of E3, right? Anything that E3 was, we were the opposite of. But again, see, familiar at the same time. We made cringe content. We wanted people to not feel comfortable, but yet at the same time laugh at it. We only got $20,000 for a budget, so I said, screw it. We don't really need to cover up the fact that we don't have any money to do this show. We're going to celebrate the fact that we have no money to do this show. And one of the coolest things about it was we had a group of people that said, this is cool, this is not cool, this doesn't belong, this does belong. So anytime something came on our table, somebody had an idea, we said, is it dope? If it's nope, then it doesn't get on. If it is, then we'll put it on. And the biggest thing, the one reason why I think this actually worked the biggest out of all the ideas that I've had, was that this was a show that celebrated indies, right? Indies were on there. Now, I know that Sega's there, but Sega actually brought some indie stuff for us to have. And it was a show for indies, whereas E3 is always a show for AAA. But in the past, people have always tried to do an E3 indie show. No, this was an indie show for indies, wrapped in the right way and delivered the right way. So here's a little bit of what we did on that.
What are you gonna do?
Oh, you're in trouble.
Watch out! Watch out! No!
Get out of here.
It's okay if you hurt him. Don't hurt that tie. That tie is glorious.
And he takes the duck down.
Your destiny realm is buy stuff, be cool.
This is a paid program for the Atari Jaguar.
You can crack wood on the side all day. Smash it. Nothing happens. You become worn and tired, and the wood is unsplit. You align it.
He was a late night motivational speaker. That's what we had him on for.
Apply your force.
This makes no sense, but it's amazing.
I'm Paul Crick. Killing it.
We also had animations. We had digital shorts. And then we had stuff that made no sense. It was everything that E3 isn't, right? You hear the music, you see the animations. It's a little dark, it's a little funny. It made people confused, it made people laugh. It was, again, everything E3 isn't. And so, but at the same time, it was pretty familiar. What I didn't show you was like, which I should have showed you, was a lot of the gameplay stuff that we did. But some of the higher level things is we were doing stuff that you could still do on Twitch, right? But I don't know why everybody always just sits in front of a webcam and just talks, where you can create an entire universe within the rules, right, of getting permission for a video, which everything was cleared, by the way. We got permission for everything on here, which is a big thing of what I have to do being part of Twitch. But one of the biggest things that stood out, and one of the reasons why the pre-show was a major success, was the fact that we did a fake press conference on us. And again, it's okay, we upset a lot of people, but we didn't tell anybody that it was a real press conference. Every tweet, every bit of media, everything that we said was that the Devolver press conference was going to be fake. They said that there's not going to be any reveals, there's not going to be anything new. So I don't know why so many people watched thinking it was going to be real. So this is what Devolver did.
Chuck those bucks.
The future of video games and the future's future.
I love heads exploding. I think it's really funny. I don't know why. This helped get the pre-show trending 8th in the world on Twitter. So we didn't say you couldn't do this stuff. You could, as long as you make it yourself. So yeah, being different but familiar at the same time. People thought it was a press conference, but it was a comedy press conference. Nothing new was revealed, and heads were exploding and arms were getting ripped off. And there's a lot more. There was 12 hours of content that I'm really proud of. I worked with a lot of amazing people to make it happen. It was, at the same time, different but familiar. And you could see from my past where we had no budget, so why hide it? We'll do it anyways, and not cover up the fact that we have nothing to show. So I really just want to get into the fact that, like, be different. Why did Marvel work, right? Well, you know why Marvel worked? Because they were totally different. See, at one point, DC, Batman was like a detective trying to find who killed Paul McCarthy, which made no sense. So Marvel came along and said, we're going to be everything that DC isn't. It actually still stands today that they're everything that DC isn't. For whatever reason, DC has gone with this idea that they're going to be grimy and dark and like they're going to change the mood of their films. Marvel, on the other hand, has decided to go with lightheartedness, fun, entertaining action. And you could see they're both still trying to compete with one another of being different. So, in a world of millions, how does one stand out? How do you stand out on Twitch? How do you stand out with your gameplay mechanics? How do you stand out with anything that you're doing? You really have to be different because you have to step outside of the box. But everyone always says step outside of the box. So I've been telling people I'm inside of the box because there's air conditioning and you don't want to go outside because outside has got all this crazy stuff going on all the time. So be inside of the box if that's your outside of the box. Probably made no sense. But Tiny Build is a perfect example of thinking outside of the box. They had a game that was unlocked by Twitch playing the game, Twitch Plays. It's a really big thing that at the time. It was totally unique and totally was something special that people still talk about and wish happened today with other titles. So we love our mad scientists. There's so many different mad scientists on us, which I'll show further on. But don't be scared of being different at all. It sucks sometimes because people are gonna be like, I don't think that's like a good idea. Well, what idea have you come up with? I'm just gonna go do my idea, and if people like it, then fine. If people don't like it, I'll learn from that. It's okay to get criticism. It's okay to be different. It's okay to also realize that your idea was no good. I've had plenty of those. Everybody always looks at the top of the page for gaming. They always go, my game is #1 on Twitch. Whoa, yeah! This is like 30 pages down. What is your game? It doesn't matter. If your game is on a list somewhere, then people are watching, right? You shouldn't care if 100,000 people are watching your game, or if 100 people are watching your game, or if 5 people are watching your game. You need to take that as a gauge of people are still watching. So When you break this down even further and you look into the ecosystem of Twitch, right? You go inside of it and you look at everybody still doing the same thing. So why did the pre-show work? We sat on a couch. But look, see, everyone is just a talking head over a camera. I don't know how that turned into that. I don't know why that turned into that. But it kind of seems like that's the look that people feel like comfortable with. But what if you did something different? We want you to have gaming. We want you to celebrate your differences. But please, all of you amazing people out there, if your gameplay is the same, it's not going to stand out. If your stream is the same, it's not going to stand out. So this is your gauge of effectiveness, right? This is an amazing tool. You get instant information on your content. You also get instant information on your games. This could be used as a tool to see how well something that you did is working. It's also a tool that at the same time, this is the weird part, that you don't know if some of the information is true. You don't know if they're trolling. You just have to gauge with your gut. If more people are telling you this is awesome, and only a few people are saying this sucks, then it probably is awesome. It's a very, very weird ecosystem, this Twitch chat thing. I've had to, I guess you could say I could speak Twitch. I'm able to gauge if they're telling the truth, if they actually like it, or if they're just trolling, because the content that I create tends to be both. So it's good and bad at the same time. So you have to just use your gut feeling in seeing if that's where you want to take people, then roll with that. So what has been going on Twitch? That's some of the different stuff. We had Snoop Dogg playing SOS. It went as high as 80,000 concurrent, right? Why did it go so high? Not just because it's Snoop Dogg, but he was really funny. Like really, really, really funny. Please, people, be funny on us. It's okay to just go out there and try to do jokes that don't work, but he was amazing on us, and that was one of the biggest things that happened in recent. So look, Twitch plays stock market. So you can actually play the stock market on Twitch. This guy has like $50,000 of real currency that you can buy and sell of actual stocks, and I think he put 50,000 in, but if you see, it's at 60. So they made 10 grand. I thought they were going to go under in 5 days. They've actually been able to sustain an actual living community based around buying stocks on Twitch. That is amazing. This was written everywhere. Forbes wrote about it. Wall Street Journal wrote about it. This is being different, but familiar at the same time. All right. Twitch is community viewing, right? This is being different and familiar at the same time. People like to watch stuff on us. Power Rangers was a big thing. People were watching that. It went really high. I think the viewership for that was way past 34,000 concurrent. People like to be creative on us. Lots of new music streams that are happening on us. People are playing guitar. They're actually making a pretty good living. There's a lot of cosplay creation on Twitch, pottery, welding, all sorts of really amazing stuff is happening on us. This was weird. This was two of these bots talking to each other. They got into like an existential conversation about life in this chat, and the viewership actually went up to around 30,000 viewers just watching these two things talking to each other about life and ordering groceries and all sorts of stuff. Different but familiar at the same time. Salty Bets, this was way back in the day. I don't know how many people are familiar with this, but this was actually like an example of being maybe a little bit too advanced of the time. But you can actually bet on the fight of your favorite character from a video game or comic book or whatever. Is this thing called Mugen. Mugen is a emulator for fighting, and you can put like Gumby in there, you can put like a bear, you can put like a giant chicken, you can do a lot of weird stuff. But what was the really interesting part is that you were given fake currency and you were able to bet on who won the match. And so another one of these things is Fitch Plays Pokemon. They actually use like a motion detector over the fish tank, and when the fish swam up, it like moved the Pokemon up. And there was a lot of people watching this at the same time. There was this weird moment where everybody thought the fish died, but it just fell asleep. And the viewership for this was out of this world. These are things that I'm showing you that they're creative. They might take a little bit of effort, but it's not that much effort to have content that is different but familiar. So what should you guys start doing, right? It's real simple. Start now, stop thinking about it. I hear so many great ideas all all the time, every day, but then nothing ever happens. Do an idea. It's okay if it fails. Man, failure is awesome. You might not hear that too often, but I'm going to tell you, I failed a lot, and I've learned a lot by failing, because not everything you do is going to be a success, but that's okay because you learn from that, hopefully. So stop coming up to me and pitching me ideas and then not doing them. Come up to me, pitch me an idea, and then do it. Do it, please. So I just want to say thank you. I showed you a lot of old clips, those things you won't find anywhere, but I'm Jon Carnage. I just want to say thank you, everybody. It was awesome sharing these old things with you.